Good morning. I am back in the shop with the Jeep truck. I'm going to take the fuel pump out and mess with it. But first, let's get this thing up on the lift and do a little inspecting underneath. All right, we got the Jeep up here on the lift. Let's take a look. Lots of grime. Oil, yeah, rust. Pump is leaking. Doesn't look great down here. I believe this is a Dana 44. It's closed knuckles. Tie rod's bent. So is this drag link. I don't know if this is supposed to be open, but it's open. And I don't see where a cover would bolt to it, so that's interesting. So this is a TI-85 from what, or not TI, it's not the calculators we used to use, it's the T85. 3-speed. And then a Dana 20 back here, which is, actually seems to shift okay. Frame, I mean, everything is rusted, but not rusted through. This wiring is, the wiring in this truck is, it definitely needs some love. And this brake cable here, it needs some love. But, I mean, everything is just leaking. Look at all of that gunk, jeez. There's the fuel tank line. These leaf springs actually look like they're in pretty good shape. The underside of the bed is not too bad. The rear diff is missing some bolts. 1, 2, 3. It's drum brakes all the way around. Look at all that up there. Oh man. Maybe it was a bad idea for me to roll under here, because obviously getting it started is the first thing and it running on its own. But after that, I have no clue where to go after that. Pressure wash the whole thing and just run it, change some fluids. We'll see. All right, I pulled out the fuel pump and it seems to be making a noise that makes me think that it's functional, so. I don't know if you guys will be able to pick that up, but it sounds like it's creating some suction. So I'm gonna clean it up. We're gonna hope that I'm right and it's good. I got the fuel pump back in the J truck and I hooked up a fuel tank. So gravity fed down to the pump here. And what we're gonna do is we're just gonna try and turn over the engine and see if fuel's coming out of this top thing here that feeds the carburetor, and if that is feeding fuel, then we know this pump's good to go. Keep going. Got nothing. So I don't think that fuel pump's any good. Okay, round 2, we move the fuel tank straight to the carburetor. So we'll see if it'll fire and stay running with this setup. I got a little update for you. My dad was here, we pulled the fuel tank out, got it over here on the bench, It's pretty dirty inside, so it's soaking in some cleaning vinegar. I think we determined that this carburetor is not letting fuel in. So I'm gonna pull this carburetor off, clean it up, probably pull it apart. I think this is a Motorcraft 2100. It looks exactly like my Motorcraft 2100 on my AMC 360 out back. Supposedly, these are real easy to rebuild. So I'm gonna watch a video, little YouTube University. I'm gonna follow along and I'm gonna give it a try. All right, I got the top off this thing. It's dirty, but it's not terrible. This float's not bad. So I think I'm just gonna break it all down, soak it in some of this cleaning vinegar or something similar, clean it up. We'll see how the jets look. I don't know what I'm doing, but that's my plan for now. Okay, I got it all torn apart. It's actually pretty simple. Those people online aren't lying. And I went and grabbed some more cleaning vinegar, dumped it in this bucket, so I'm just gonna dunk these parts, let them soak for a couple days. I did order a carburetor rebuild kit. That should be here tomorrow. Then I will throw this thing back together, throw it back on the Jeep truck. I also ordered a electric Amazon cheap fuel pump. So once that all gets here and we get it all back together on the truck, we'll see if this thing runs. All right, I'm back. I soaked this carburetor in the vinegar and it didn't really do much like it was to the fuel tank. It was getting the varnish off the fuel tank, but it wasn't really cleaning the carburetor like I thought it would. So I went back on the interwebs and it said use Pine Sol. So I just got regular old Pine Sol and put it in a tub with the carburetor, about 4-to-1 with water mixture. And then I put it on this little hot plate. Within hours, this thing was way cleaner than it was when I put it in. So, I mean, it's not perfect, but it's pretty dang clean now compared to what it was. So, I mean, look at these. So, I got my carb kit here, and I'm just gonna clean stuff and put it together, and then we'll get it back on the truck, and we'll try and get some fuel supply to it. All right, I got this carburetor all back together. It's really not that hard. Took me about an hour and a half to get it back together, probably like an hour to break it down. I'll put a link in the video or in the description to the video I watched. That's pretty good for this carburetor. I'm going to, this carb spacer is factory from what I've read, but I'm guessing this gasket is probably not in the greatest shape. The kit I bought, the rebuild kit came with 2, so I'm gonna pull this off, put a new gasket on, install the carburetor, and I'll be back like that. Carburetor is on, gaskets were installed, new ones. So now we're bypassing the mechanical pump. I'm gonna put this fuel block-off plate on. Then I will dig out the little Amazon electric pump I got, and then we'll see. We'll just temp wire it to like a fuel, like a gas can, and see if we can just get some pump some fuel up to this carburetor, and then if that works, we'll see if we can fire this thing and get it to run. So this fuel block up plate just goes right here where the fuel pump would have gone on, the mechanical one. So I'm just gonna go ahead and clean this up a little. And then this plate and the gasket just goes right over that with the bolts that came are the original bolts that you use to hook the mechanical one up. So, not complicated, but if you never used a fuel block off plate, that's all this is. And for this application, and I think most AMCs, you can just get a big block Chevy one, or I think ones for Ford will work. I'm wondering if these bolts are going to be too long. I think the fuel pump flange is a little bit thicker than this is, so we'll be mindful of that as we tighten this. Could just get some shorter bolts if I need to, but I think we're gonna be okay. Could also add a washer or two. You know what? They are kind of bottoming out. Oh, I see. I'm running out of thread. Okay. We're gonna either have to add, some shims, or I'm gonna have to find some smaller bolts. Let me show you guys what I mean. Ow. I just whacked my bad thumb, which is healing good in case any of you guys are wondering. Okay. So, this bolt is not threaded all the way, so it's bottoming out. And I only need 3/4 if an inch, so I'm gonna go search. I'm either gonna get some washers to add on or search through my bolt bin. So, dug through some parts or some hardware, and I found this bolt. You can see it's shorter than the factory one, and it's got threads all the way to the head, and it's old and looks about the same vintage. So I'm just going to transfer the lock washer on. Those are going in there nice and smooth. Pretty much tighten them up by hand. That is good sign. Just give it a little snug. Fuel pump block off plate installed. Now let's temp wire a electric fuel pump. Okay, I got this little pump into a fuel can, and it's wired to this jumper pack. So if I turn the power to this jumper pack on, should make this pump work. And then I got the other end going into this plastic bottle here, so let's give it a shot. Nothing yet. I got it going the right way, in out. So that's not a good sign. Let me work on this. Okay, I think, well, I know that line I was using to go from the pump into this gas can had some holes in it, so I'm hoping that it just wasn't creating vacuum. So I got a hard line in there now. This is the one that originally went from the fuel pump to the carburetor on the truck, and then just a short hose. So let's give it a try now. Changed. Yeah, baby, we got it. Okay. All right, so you heard the pump change noises there, and then I was like, okay, we got action. So now I'm gonna connect this into the hose straight to the carb, and I'm thinking if I power the pump off of this positive side of the coil, that should only be key on power, and it should have power at crank. So I'm gonna try that, and then we'll see if this thing fires and runs. All right, I'm gonna go in the truck and crank this over. You guys got eyes on everything. Okay. I don't know if we're not getting fuel. Let's wire this differently. Let's go straight to the solenoid here. Just, if I go here, it should go. Yeah. Okay, let's see if it fires now. Doesn't sound too bad. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and shut her down. How about that? How about that? Awesome. All right, so we know everything works and runs, and the truck will stay running if it's got fuel and I use the key. So before, when I was bypassing it with the switch, if I didn't have the key in the exact right spot, there's a little play in that key, it wasn't sending power to the coil. So, but I could just put this thing, I could just put this fuel tank in here somewhere, like, you know, maybe just like right here, put this hood down a little and see if I can back this thing out. Should we give that a try? I think we should. First, I'm gonna put the few bolts that I have, and take the few bolts I have and put this exhaust manifold on that's just hanging down there. So it's not quite as loud. I got this pump hooked to the ignition side of the starter solenoid, and it seems to be giving me power at crank and during runs, so I think we got that worked out, or at least I know where to get the power from, which makes sense. I went ahead and got a little crate in here for me to sit in. The shifter on the column here is not shifting the linkage, so I will have to figure out which one is reverse here, and then see if I can back this thing out. So I will set you guys up here in the shop and you can watch. got 0 brakes, and I forgot to put a return spring on the throttle, so that's why it revved pretty high at the end there. But it's a good day. We got it moving, we got it running, and we got it moving, so that's a good day. I actually need to load this up on the trailer because I got to take it to get a VIN verification so that I can try and get a title for this thing. So I don't think I'm going to try and drive it up because I don't have brakes, but we'll see. I'm going to go get the trailer ready, and then I'll update you guys in a bit. I'm loaded up. I'm headed to go get a VIN verification. Wish me luck. All right. I succeeded with the VIN verification. Everything went well. I got the truck back here, and while I was at the VIN verification, I was waiting for the officer to come out, and I was just staring at the truck, and I was walking around it, and I'm like, God, this is a good looking truck. It's just so cool. And then I just noticed a couple things. Well, one main thing in particular, and I had mentioned it a little bit before in a video. I pointed out these run lines here from the paint, and I had said in the video that, you know, somebody must have touched it up. I noticed a couple more runs. I think I saw some here on the tailgate. See, like there's one. There's some runs there. There's one like right there. So then I got to thinking, oh, this truck, the entire truck has been painted. And then I said, duh, of course the truck has been painted. How did I not pick that up before? The inside of the door is brown. The behind the cab is brown. I obviously knew those things, it just didn't register. Look at all the brown. Over the window, over the wheel well. I mean, how did I just not register this before? Brown here, brown here, brown here. I think I thought it was just brown primer underneath, but that's not logical. Wouldn't they just use like a gray primer probably? Anyways, so I noticed that. Did any of you guys notice that before, that obviously the factory color of this was not baby blue? Which also I should have known because I never seen one in this color before, and that brown color makes 100% sense because I have seen that color before. Alright, it is video wrap-up time. Let's run down how much money I spent while filming this video on parts for the truck and other things. I spent $15 on the fuel block-off plate, $29 on the carburetor rebuild kit, $22 on cleaning supplies to soak the carburetor and clean the fuel tank, $11 on that cheap Amazon fuel pump, and I spent $93 at the DMV trying to get a title issued for this. Which, by the way, okay, so let's total. That's a total of $1,154 so far. I've spent on this truck $1,154. Circling back to the DMV, the great state of California, they make everything so easy here. They definitely never pass stupid laws, irrational laws, non-logical things. Everything they do here, all the red tape, it's 100% completely necessary. That being said, I went to the DMV, I had all my paperwork. The lady was lovely. She was very happy to help me. She takes all my paperwork, processes it all, and then she says, you still need to go get this thing weighed. I need a weight certificate. So, I do not have a title issued. I somehow have to get this thing weighed, which probably means I have to get it driving, to drive it somewhere to get it weighed, because I don't know where I can go to do it. Otherwise, I gotta do it with a trailer, then I gotta unload it, then I gotta go back and have my truck and trailer, like, come on. Anyways, the state of California, it's great. Super efficient. It's real easy to do things here. Highly recommended. All right, anyways. In the last video, we were at 16 hours I had been in this project. In this video, I spent 3 hours messing with the mechanical fuel pump, removing the carburetor, then removing the fuel tank, and messing with the sending unit. Basically, I just tested to see if the sending unit was working, and it wasn't giving a reading, and so I kind of just cleaned it, and it's giving me a reading now on the multimeter, but I don't know if it will send it to the signal to the actual gauge in the truck. Anyways, I didn't put any of that on video because that's real boring stuff. But okay, so I spent 3 hours doing those things. Then I spent 5 hours rebuilding the carburetor, installing the fuel pump block off plate, and then hooking up the temporary fuel pump into the gas can that you guys saw. And so, and a bulk of that was, it took me about 3 hours to rebuild the carburetor, give or take a little time. It could probably be done in 2, or maybe even less if you know what you're doing, but it was my first time. So there's that. And then I'm going to tack on 2 admin hours for going to get the VIN verification in the DMV. So those aren't necessarily me putting my blood, sweat, and tears in the truck hours, but they are notable, so I put them down here. So that puts us at a total of 26 hours that I've spent on this project. That being said, what are we gonna do in the next video? Well, we are definitely gonna get the fuel tank back in and like a permanent fuel system ran to the carburetor. So we're gonna get the fuel system buttoned up so that I can just jump in this thing and move it and fire it up. We're gonna get the fuel system dialed. I mean, we know what we need to do, so we're just gonna do it. And then we're gonna work on brakes because the brakes are locked. Everything is drum, and I think both fronts are really like stuck. It's all stuck, and that's why I've got no pedal. So that will be the goal for next video. And then if that's all good, then I'll be able to actually drive it, or attempt to drive it, to get it weighed. And then we can go back to the lovely DMV where everybody smiles, and then have them finalize the paperwork so we can get a title for this thing. So I'm looking forward to getting that work done, and seeing you guys on the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.